Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and welcome. If you are new to my channel, you've never been here before, never seen my face. Here on my channel, I cover true crime stories, and all of the stories that I cover are more on the vintage side. They're all pretty much 20 years or older, so if that's something you might be interested in, you might want to go down below, hit that subscribe button, and quite possibly turn on the post notifications to be notified every time that I upload. Today's video is about a case that took nearly 4 decades to solve. It was finally solved last year in 2019, but before we get into the case, I have to say that today's video is sponsored, and it is sponsored by Magellan TV. Magellan TV is dedicated to bringing all of its viewers the highest quality documentaries. If you're someone interested in expanding your overall knowledge of an array of topics, then Magellan TV is for you. As of right now, Magellan TV has over 2,000 documentaries and docuseries from some of the best filmmakers and networks from all around the world. Magellan TV is also adding new content every week. You'll never run out of things to watch, and it can be watched anytime and anywhere. It's compatible with Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Google Play, and iOS. There's also no ads, so your content will never be interrupted. Out of personal opinion, their crime and mystery section is the best. Magellan TV is one of my main sponsors here on my channel. I absolutely adore their service, and I always got to give a little bit of a recommendation. And my recommendation this time is a documentary called A Shallow Grave. A Shallow Grave revolves around the case of 43-year-old businessman Alex Steenkamp, who was buried in a shallow grave in his backyard in South Africa for 8 years. The man went missing in 1996, and it took 9 years for his family to get justice in the murder case. The person responsible would turn out to be someone his wife, Andrea, had her eye on the whole time. If you want to check out Magellan TV yourself, if you haven't already, you can get 1 month free of their service by going to try.magellantv.com/gabulosis. Thank you, Magellan TV, for sponsoring today's video, and let's get right into the case. As you all know, here on my channel in September is Solved September, so every single case that I cover is a solved case. Today we are talking about the solved case of Ameenah Scott. Ameenah, an Arabic name meaning most precious, and to Ameenah Scott's loved ones, that's exactly what she was. Ameenah Nafisa Rashima Scott was born on February 21st, 1965. In the year 1981, she was 16 years old and attending McClemens High School in Oakland, California, where she lived with her mother, father, and 3 siblings. She was the oldest child with 2 sisters and a brother. Ameenah's mother, Mercedes S. Rodriguez, described Ameenah as a quiet yet very friendly girl. She was an honor student a year away from graduating high school. She was extremely interested in mathematics and had plans to go into computer science. At the time, she was taking courses at UC Berkeley on the side. Ameenah loved animals. She had a snake and 2 birds, and ranted about wanting to maybe become a vet one day. She spent most of her time inside, either reading or watching TV. Her family never had any problems with her growing up. She definitely wasn't a rebellious teen, to say the least. She prayed often and had a love for God above all. She was a tiny girl standing at only 4 feet 8 inches tall and weighing about 80 pounds. Even though she was small, she had so much life in her. She was a caring young girl who would give anyone the shirt off her back if she needed to. Her mother remembers a time when Ameenah used a paycheck she got from working part-time at Prescott Elementary School to take her entire family out to dinner. Ameenah was generous and kind, and she saw the beauty in the world, not the evil that could be sometimes lurking just around the corner. As we all know, since the beginning of time, there's been crime in this world. And it doesn't matter where you live, sometimes you just can't escape it. Well, Ameenah's family was originally from New York City, and as I'm sure most of you all know, New York City has a very high crime rate. To escape that high crime rate, they decided that they were going to move to Oakland, California. Ameenah's parents decided that moving to sunny California was exactly what they wanted, and that's where they wanted to raise their 4 children. Oakland is the largest city and the county seat of Alameda, California. It's a city on the east side of San Francisco Bay and has many things to do that attract many tourists. From the Oakland Museum of California, amazing restaurants, a great art scene, and tons of things for the whole family to do. And for 7 years, it really was an ideal place for Ameenah's family to live, until tragedy struck. The date that we're going to be talking about is Wednesday, December 23rd, 1981, 2 days before Christmas. And during this time, Ameenah was off from school because she was on Christmas break here in the United States. Earlier in that day, Ameenah had actually went to the orthodontist and she got her braces taken off. And if you've ever had your braces taken off, you know that's a very exciting day. She was just glowing. She was so happy to have her new smile. Most of that day, Wednesday though, was spent wrapping gifts. And Ameenah was with one of her really good friends, and she was with her younger sister and her mother, and they were all just spending time together, talking, wrapping gifts, and her mother said that they were all sipping on herbal tea. It was 2 days before Christmas. They were all feeling very festive. They were all just having a good time, getting ready for Christmas. And then a little bit later on in the day, Ameenah's friend decided to go home. Then at 8:30 p.m., Ameenah tells her mother that she wants to go for a walk. Of course, Ameenah's mother, Mercedes, being a protective parent or just a parent in general, was asking her, where are you going? Who are you going with? When will you be back? And Ameenah, being a teenager, was just like, Mom, it's okay, I just want to go for a walk. She reassured her mother that she would be okay, and the last words she told her mother were, "Don't worry, nobody would hurt me." About 2 hours later, Ms. Rodriguez received a call from Ameenah. Her daughter said she was at a friend's home and asked if she could stay a little bit longer. Her mother said, okay. According to her mother, she sounded normal, and this friend whose home she was at was someone she knew very well. From one news source, I read that Ameenah was never actually at this friend's house to begin with, and this was very unlike Ameenah to lie. Ameenah was the type of girl who thought that she was invincible. Ameenah's mother said that Ameenah never thought anything would happen to her. She was the type of person who thought that she would just live forever. She left home thinking that she would be perfectly fine, and her mother always hoped this would be the outcome. Mercedes Rodriguez said that when they moved from New York City, they thought they were running away from the crime, but they ran right into it. The neighborhood they lived in was one where most everyone knew each other. Ameenah thought she would be okay, but this would be the last time anyone saw her alive. The next morning on Christmas Eve, the lifeless body of Ameenah Scott was located in a dirt lot between Lowell Middle School and Lowell Park in Oakland at around 8 in the morning. She had been sexually assaulted. She was stabbed several times, and there were signs that the young girl put up a good fight. Authorities believed she was killed the day before on the 23rd, somewhere between when the phone call was made and midnight. Although her family thought the area was a decent one, her homicide would be the 130th in the area of Oakland in the year 1981. Ameenah's horrific and sudden murder sent a shockwave through Oakland, California, and her family was devastated, to say the least, but authorities started working on Ameenah's case. Not many leads came in, but every lead that came in, authorities followed, and it never led them to where they needed to be. Time passed, and for Ameenah's family, it never really got easier. It was always something, and still to this day, that is so difficult for Ameenah's siblings to talk about. Ameenah's mother said that she was so in shock from what happened to her daughter that she didn't cry about it for 2 years. She said that the first time she cried about it was when she was driving, and she came to a stop and there was a girl walking across the street, and this girl looked very much like Ameenah, and that's when it hit her. In 1983, when Ameenah's class graduated, the entire graduation was in Ameenah's memory. The 165 classmates of hers who received their degrees unanimously voted to award Ameenah an honorary diploma that her mother accepted for her. The senior class counselor said that Ameenah was the epitome of a McClellan student. She was determined, energetic, kind-hearted, and very intelligent. During her junior year, she was actually ranked in the top 5 students of her class. Through the years, people would go up to Mercedes Rodriguez and tell her all about their memories of Ameenah and what an amazing person she was. And it was bittersweet for Mercedes because she would get to hear these stories about her daughter, but at the same time, it reminded her that her daughter's case is still unsolved. Sergeant Hahn and Sergeant Murray were the main ones originally on the case, and they actually left their Christmas festivities to get started on Ameenah's case. They started looking into her personal life, and there was no one on their radar that stuck out. She didn't hang out with any bad kids involved in drugs or gangs. She had no known enemies. They were dealing with the homicide of an honor student with a great set of friends and an amazing family. They spent Christmas of 1981 trying to find a killer, and they had no idea who it could be. It had to be a random attack from someone she had no connection to. That's all they could think of. For Christmas of 1981, all Ameenah wanted was an electric blanket, and that's what her mother got for her. And she still has that electric blanket to this day that Ameenah never got to open on Christmas morning. When it comes to Ameenah's remains, they were cremated, and it took her mother 22 years to finally spread the ashes on the bay. She always wanted Ameenah close to her. When DNA evidence became a thing, they were able to obtain DNA from Ameenah's body, but anytime they ran it through their system, there was never a match to it. This case became one of the oldest cold case homicides in Oakland, and it wouldn't be solved until homicide officer PATRON started looking back into it in 2019, nearly 4 decades later. Just last year in 2019, homicide officer PATRON started relooking into Ameenah's case, and he started talking to her mother. This was the only person that he could really talk to because everybody else in the family was still very much affected by Ameenah's murder, and it was very, very hard for any of them to talk about. This homicide officer was absolutely determined to solve Ameenah's case. Coincidentally, in that same year though, of 2019, a new man's DNA was put into the system. So this time, when they ran the DNA that was found on Ameenah's body through the system, they found a match. The man responsible for the murder of the 16-year-old girl was 57-year-old Joel Henry Collins, who had been serving a 25 to life sentence in Nevada for a sexual assault in 1992. Before his arrest in 1992, he had been working as a janitor. He was living in Oakland at the time of Ameenah's murder. When they conducted a jailhouse interview of the suspect, he claimed he had no involvement in the violent slaying of the teenager. He stated he had never come in contact with her in his life. But DNA evidence isn't lying, and he was charged in September of 2019 for her murder and the special circumstance allegations that the killing happened during a sexual attack. According to MercuryNews.com, when asked by the judge if he wanted to waive his right to a speedy trial, he could be heard stating, "I do." Alameda County District Attorney Nancy O'Malley stated that the Oakland police and the FBI never gave up solving this tragic killing. The young victim's family has had to endure decades of grief, and we hope that this prosecution will provide at least a sense of closure and relief that justice will be served. Ameenah's mother has stated that she is so sorry that it took so long to solve Ameenah's case, but she is happy that justice is finally being served. She says that she has no fear or animosity when it comes to Ameenah's killer. She is just glad that he is behind bars and unable to hurt anyone else's child. Just like every loved one of a murder victim, when it is finally solved, they're happy that their loved one's case has been solved, but nothing will help bring that person back. In today's time, there is now a memorial plaque for Ameenah at Lake Merritt in Oakland. Ameenah Scott would be 55 years old. So that is the case of 16-year-old Ameenah Scott. I know it's not a very long video, but it's a case that I just really wanted to talk about. Ameenah seemed like such an amazing girl, and I feel like she would have done something incredible with her life. One thing that sticks out to me about this case though is that the person responsible, he was in prison since 1992, and his DNA was not put into the system until so many years later in 2019. And if his DNA was put into the system back in 1992, when he was charged for the sexual assault, Ameenah's case may have been solved so many years ago. It's scary and heartbreaking that Ameenah's life was taken while she was doing something that every single person should be allowed to do. Just go out and go for a walk. But this world can be a scary place, and sometimes we can't do that. This case is of course a part of my Solved September series here on my channel. During September, I am only covering solved cases. If there's any solved cases that you want me to cover, you can always email me at gabulosiscaserequests@gmail.com. Let me know your opinions about this case down below, like always, and of course, send a little love to the family members down in the comments because you never know who may come across this video. And thank you Magellan TV for sponsoring today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.